You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
What's up, creeps, and welcome to a brand new Epic Film Guys Fresh Fright review. I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
And once again, we are joined by none other than, yes, you're getting an intro this one. You have to get it this time. The god of podcasting himself, LoySauce, is back on the Epic Film Guys. What the fuck is up, man?
Woo!
It's a beautiful day, and we're going to talk about some horror movies, so I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, it is a beautiful day. It's very nice out. I had to go exterminate like a whole shitload of ants that were eating this rotten apple in front of my house today, but it was nice while I was doing it, so I can't complain either. We're talking about the brand new horror movie Faces of Death that just got released last week, which, to all you old schoolers like myself and Jeremy, we know what the fuck Faces of Death is because we used to rent that shit from the video store near the X-rated section. And Jeremy, I'm sure you have a story about Faces of Death.
Oh man, yeah. No, that was like just like they say in the movie, it was like the first viral video thing.
Yeah.
That, it was kind of like Freddy Krueger, right? Where like you were in school and you found out about Freddy through other kids before you even like organically, heard about the movie. And that was kind of the same thing with Faces of Death. Is it was like, have you seen Faces of Death? And it's like, okay, well, what's Faces of Death? It's like, it's a movie, but it's nothing but clips of people like being murdered and getting killed. But it's all real. It's all real.
You have to see it.
Dude, I remember hanging out over at a friend Robert's house, and I had never seen it. And like low key, like I also kind of didn't like. I was curious. Don't get me wrong, but I also was like, I don't know that I really want to watch.
Were you scared?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I was a little bit because
I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, dude, I don't know that I want to watch people die for real, So, like, I remember we watched a bunch of it. I don't think we even watched the whole thing. And I don't know if it was him that was kind of backing off and was like, hey, let's go do something else real quick. And we just never went back to it. But we definitely watched a bunch of it. And I just remember feeling gross. Like, like, I should not be privy to this. Like, I should not have access to this. Especially the age that I was like, I should not. My parents would be pissed if they knew that I was watching this, and his parents had no idea. But yeah, like it was very much a huge thing when you and I were kids, because we're much older than the LoySauce.
We are very much older. Yeah, I mean, when you were born, video stores were already starting to make their way out. Yeah, so
yeah. So
especially the mom and pop ones. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that Loy, you're probably closer to my little brother's age than mine. I think so.
Yeah, but I still had that kind of rite of passage moment where I found out about Faces of Death and sought it out for myself, because I think as human beings, there's an innate curiosity for images and ideas that kind of force us to grapple with our mortality. And that's what Faces of Death, I think, taps into. And that's why it kind of became so infamous. Like before you saw shock videos on the internet, that was how you kind of explored those avenues of curiosity. Like what would it look like to, see someone get hit by a train or shot by a firing squad? Or, you had all these like, curiosities about what it would look like. And, I kind of... put the original on in the background while I was doing some household chores recently. I wasn't really paying that much attention to it, but just kind of like as a point of comparison to this new film. And it's very convincing. I mean, it's the way that the kind of clinical nature of the documentary style kind of montage. It's basically a montage, and how the deaths are staged. It's pretty convincing. So I can imagine it convinced a lot of people, especially a lot of young horror fans at the time. I mean, especially for its time when it came out, 1976, right? Or something like that. 70 in the
78.
70s.
Yeah, I think
78.
78.
Okay.
Yeah. Somewhere around there. Yeah.
still, this was before you saw a lot of elaborately staged death scenes in Hollywood cinema. So it felt underground, it felt grungy, and it felt real.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
Yeah,
And for the longest time, I legit thought it was real. Like, I didn't.
yeah.
People be like, that shit's fake. And I'm like, no, dude, that college student legit jumped off that fucking building and you see him, splat gone. Much like you, Jeremy, my first foray into Faces of Death was a sleepover. And I've mentioned his name on the show before, my buddy Nate Clark. We could get away with anything at his place because dad was a huge horror fan, had an amazing sound system and shit. I don't remember if we rented it. I remember seeing it in the video store. His dad might even have owned it like that because he liked really fucking weird, macabre shit. But I do remember seeing it in the video store, and it was like forbidden. It was like, you don't go through those Western doors and you knew it was in there, tits and ass. But right next to it was Faces of Death, and the cover is it's just the skull with the logo in red. And you're like, this just looks so cool. It's like any young teenage boy has to see this thing. So I think the concept itself is extremely ripe for a brand new take or interpretation. Or, I mean, I guess I didn't like that a lot of outlets were calling this a quote unquote remake because it's not really at all the same thing.
It's not.
This
no.
movie's not trying to convince you anything's real.
The original is like the definitive video nasty from back in the day. Like this, anytime there was a list compiled of like movies that were outlawed in certain countries or territories, they were labeled video nasties. And this was like the definitive video nasty that was banned and outlawed in a lot of places because, I mean, dude, the whole, conception of this movie again is that it's real. And like you just said, Justin, we fucking believed that shit for decades that this shit was real.
Dude, you'd be talking about that, at the water cooler at school in the back of the bus, like, man, Faces of Death. So it was a big thing for us old ass people.
Well, and the idea behind this movie too is, how do you transpose that into a modern setting for a modern audience? Because a lot of what we see on the internet is, again, it's convincing that it might be real. But we know, especially on social media, we're only really shown what people want us to see. So, how do you take this, as the movie puts it, and as you put it, Jeremy, the first viral video, and kind of put it in a time and place where like TikTok dances and live streams and AI are, are a big part of our culture. So
we don't really know what's real or not, but to the uninitiated, first and foremost, this will be full spoiler. And this movie is about a woman employed as a website content moderator. She comes across a series of violent videos reproducing death scenes from a film. She thinks it's real and investigates. So that's our basic premise of this movie. And I got to say, I saw the trailer like once. And my initial reaction to that was, well, I'll see that. We'll cover that on the show. But it didn't immediately scream Faces of Death to me. It didn't have that like jolt that I kind of needed. I do like Dacre Montgomery a lot. It sucks that he's kind of.
How do you say his name?
I've always said Dacre.
See, I thought it was Decree.
I don't know how to fucking say it. I've always said Dacre.
I thought it was Dacre.
Is it
Dacre? But I have no idea.
Okay, well, Dacre or.
We all have different ideas of what his. Let me look. How? Go ahead. Keep going.
I was just gonna say, no. It just seems like he's been kind of pigeonholed since Stranger Things. I haven't seen him really do anything that amazing, but this does seem like the type of role that he could eat up. And so looking at the poster and everything in the trailer, I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. Did you guys have any super enthusiasm leading up to this to see it?
Same as you, kind of, Justin. I found out about the movie and was like, okay, like I wasn't wildly excited about it. And then I think I saw the trailer just like you one time, and I intentionally kind of avoided everything because I wanted to be surprised. And modern movie trailers like to spoil literally almost everything nowadays. So it was the same kind of vibe where I was like, I'm not crazy excited. It wasn't on any most anticipated lists for me, but it definitely had my interest, and I knew no matter what that I was going to see it. And also, the way that you pronounce his name is Dacre.
Okay, so it's Dacre. Okay, Dacre. I was saying Dacre. I was. Listen,
weird.
9 times out of 10 on this show in this day and age, I'm sober. So that's me being sober, trying to say someone's name. Okay. Listen, I've never actually seen him interviewed or anything, so I've never heard anyone say his name to his face. But there you go. Common mistake here. And LoySauce, you had any excitement for this one?
I'll watch anything.
I know you will, but leading up to it, you weren't, because I don't remember you ever saying like, "Dude, Faces of fucking Death. I can't wait for that one."
I was curious because I mean the trailer definitely made it clear that this was going to be a pretty straightforward slasher, as opposed to what the original Faces of Death was, which again we've covered. It's basically a montage of death scenes. I did go in with low expectations, and the reason for that is we've seen a lot of these Shudder original films come out in the past years where, I'm not going to knock Shudder. I think what they're doing is pretty awesome. And in fact, I've liked more of their films than I've outright disliked. But especially in recent years, for every mad god, there's a Christmas Bloody Christmas, for every ugly stepsister, there's a clown in a cornfield. So I was like,
yeah.
I guess I was going into this worried that it would kind of be a cheap, low rent kind of diluting of a classic, a title, like taking the notoriety of a classic horror film and just kind of cheapening it or making it something more palatable. So I was a little nervous going in. I'm also a fan of Charlie XCX and saw that she was listed in the cast, and I'm like, maybe she'll have a really awesome death scene. Unfortunately,
Wrong.
That wasn't the case.
She's in the movie for fucking 2 seconds. Can I eat that sandwich? She eats the sandwich. End of her scenes in the entire movie.
You know what? She's been really busy lately, and I know she's kind of been wanting to dip her toes into the film world. And she's in an upcoming Takashi Miike film. She had her own moment, so to speak, with The Moment earlier this year. So I'm interested to see what she does next, because it seems like she's choosing her film projects very,
anything more than just you're gonna eat that and then end of scene. But jumping right in with initial thoughts, I mean, Jeremy, you got a chance to see this before anyone else I knew. We did not get an opportunity to see this early. They didn't do early screenings or links or anything to us. So you saw it. What were your initial thoughts on Faces of Death?
Initial thoughts are the premise for this movie. I thought it was very, very creative, right? That, okay, there's a real person that's out there emulating and doing deaths from the original 1978 Faces of Death, and that's how he's murdering people, and he's uploading them, and then there's a series of doubt of whether or not they're real or not. I feel like that was just a brilliant way to take, because how do you actually remake Faces of Death? Like, nobody would really be interested in that now anyways, because there's tons of stuff like that out there on the internet.
You just have to look at TikTok, dude. I mean, for 5 minutes and you'll see way worse shit than you'll see in a slasher movie, most likely.
100%. So I felt like the way that they approached, like how they were going to incorporate, the original Faces of Death into a new film called Faces of Death, I thought it was really, really brilliant that it was a serial killer that was recreating the deaths from the original tape. I thought that was brilliant. And my initial thoughts is that I thought that this was a really entertaining movie, there was a lot of it that I enjoyed. Dacre Montgomery, as we just learned.
Dacre.
How to say his name. He played such a unique serial killer, man. Like, the fact that he's a serial killer that is repulsed by blood and wants nothing to do with actual blood, I found to be so fascinating. And how, he presented himself when he was trying to be like non-assuming and non-threatening, like this persona, like, hey, oh my gosh, I cut my hand. He even did this like kind of deep voice that I was like, and like was hunched over a little bit, like trying to portray himself that he was much weaker than what he really was. Like, I thought that was brilliant. How he was getting, basically he was also targeting people that would talk shit about his videos. Like, those were for the most part, at least some, like, he would find out where they lived to abduct them, because he's like, oh, this is someone who's not appreciating my work. I thought that was really fucking cool too. And just his physical presence, and he really showed how batshit crazy his character was throughout the course of the film, which I found to be really unique, man. Like I really liked the physicality that he brought to it. You know, I don't know that this is going to be on any type of best of list for me, but you know, my initial thoughts is that I had a really great time with this. You know, we'll obviously get into some things that I'm, you know, elements that I wish were done better or extended or things that they could have done. But, you know, ultimately I had a good time with it, man.
What about you, Saucy?
Um, I was actually, I mean, I talked about how I felt going into the movie, my worries, that it would just be kind of again, a cheap throwaway. We've talked about recent reboots. You know, we've watched the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake from last year. I mean, there's a certain level of expectation that goes with cribbing the name from a classic, or in some cases infamous, original film, and just seeing how it is just kind of all its edges are sanded down. So I went into this with some worry, but I thought that this had a dash more wit and intelligence and originality than your usual horror fare. And the filmmaking itself, I thought, was a cut above what I would normally expect for one of these movies. You know how many times I've watched a movie and a gun goes off right by someone's head and they don't even bother to have the actor cover their ears? Stuff like that in this movie, I really appreciated that attention to detail. There's a moment where Barbie Ferreira's character is calling out for her roommate after she hears a struggle between her roommate and the killer. And instead of going, hello, 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 over and over, she goes, what was that? She's like asking her roommate, what was that crash that I heard? Tiny little detail, but it makes everything feel so much more authentic. I mean, my bullshit meter goes off when I watch horror movies, and stuff like that isn't paid attention to. So little moments that gave the characters personality, which we'll get into, especially with Dacre Montgomery's character, this kind of shambling serial killer. Great stuff. Sometimes characters made really smart decisions. Sometimes they made pretty dumb decisions, but it never felt inconsistent. It just felt real. It made me think about what decisions I would make in that moment, because I'm not infallible. I'd probably make some pretty dumb decisions too if a serial killer were pursuing me. So again, we'll get into it, especially I have a lot of thoughts about the themes of the movie. You know, so my fears were assuaged. Would I've preferred if the movie went into a little kind of more gnarly territory with the gore and the kill scenes? Absolutely. But that the movie's not trying to be a remake of Faces of Death. It's doing its own thing, and it's trying to make its own statements. And man, I liked this a lot more than I thought that I would.
I'm glad for the both of you, but
long silence. And sigh.
I don't disagree with everything you guys are saying. I thought Dacre sounds like a fucking deer or some shit, or I don't know. I thought he was wonderful. He immediately reminded me of those 80s serial killer performances that you would see in like a canon movie, like specifically like Gene Davis's performance as Warren Stacy in 10 to Midnight, the Charles Bronson canon movie. He just really reminded me of this. Even when he was trying to put on that nerdy persona, Jeremy, he still came off as like creepy and like weird. Like, what's he working, a Boost Mobile or some shit, or like whatever, a fake, you know, mock-up equivalent of that. He's just sitting there typing stuff in, like all like hunched over. Very creepy performance. The glasses that he had, the way he'd slick his hair back and everything. The contacts were a really good choice as well. I loved that, especially when you had to have him wearing, I don't know why they're doing this still, cheap plain white mask. Like, you couldn't do anything better than that.
I'm with you on that. Like, I'm at a point, because it's like, dude, we've had Hush, you know, the Flanagan movie, you know, Bruiser, Romero's Bruiser, and like, dude, there's so many movies with these nondescript, just plain white masks that the killers wear. It's like, dude, just do something different, man.
At least I liked the red contacts.
Can I offer a different point of view and say that I love that and it's perfectly consistent with his character? I literally went to
No,
Michael's. I
you're
literally
wrong.
went to I literally went to Michael's the other day, and there's like a aisle of like all of these like white masks. I'm sure the killer himself went to Michael's and just got a white mask off of the shelf, and
It is
that's what that
consistent.
character would do.
It's
I
true.
thought that was
Yeah.
I thought that was like especially with like the moments of again kind of vulnerability that we get with his character, his squeamishness with the blood. There's this part where we find out that he has like a burner account that he uses to reply to other people's comments on his viral videos, and you know, when they say like that looks fake as shit or whatever, he'll comment on this
Like,
other account.
It's
And there's this
artistic
part where
or
we see him
something.
considering there's this part where we see him considering whether to use 3 question marks, and he decides
or
we see him
two,
delete
right?
one and he decides to post it with
Yeah.
2. And I'm like, I don't know, that again, it shows that he has personality and he has a little bit of a like a what would you say, like he has a confidence issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
I just
that's
thought
what
the
I'm
fact
saying.
that he
I-
had this
yeah.
like plain white mask with the red eye contacts, like
I
that,
liked
it was
him,
makeshift and homemade.
It works.
It works.
I think it works for sure.
I just was like, I mean, I had already seen it, so I already knew that's what we were going to get. But I just think the way that it played out in the movie, it was been there, done that territory for me. So I just wish, again, just like me complaining about having these dudes with just black hoodies on. I fucking hate that
Yeah.
even more, which I've seen that
So
in a million
tired of
other
that.
movies. So I'm just saying from a visual standpoint, because once again, for all intents and purposes, this is a slasher movie. No matter what, in my opinion, no matter what it thinks it's trying to say, it only scratches the surface of its themes. And that frustrated me because I think there could have been a lot more of fleshing out of these themes and a lot more to say about them. But at the end of the day, the movie ends with a big bloody battle in his basement, and it turns into whatever slasher movie you could pick off the fucking, the shelf and say, this is from all those movies. So while it tries some original things, I don't think it stuck the landing, and that's what was frustrating to me. But the killing scenes and all of that, I think the build up, there was some good suspense and stuff like that. And Dacre is he's a
we have to get
very
used to it.
he's a very threatening presence. And I mean, dude, even in Stranger Things when he plays like the bully character, I liked
Really,
him in
yeah.
that. I've always liked him. I've always thought he was great. Even in that piece of shit Power
Ranger.
Ranger movie.
Yep, Red Ranger.
That's not his fault. I thought he was a great choice for that. I'm just saying. But so overall,
Yeah.
I think it was for me at least. I walked out going like, I liked things about this. I by no means this is not another Psycho Killer where I walked out furious or anything like that. I just felt like overall slightly let down by what could have been a much better movie. But as we were talking about with the cast and stuff, throwing the ball around a little bit, we have Barbie Ferreira as our main lead in the movie. What did you guys think of her?
I thought she was fantastic, man. And even though you told me not to say this pre-show, I'm gonna say it anyways.
Go ahead.
Go
for
and
it.
it sucks that like
She did
in
something for you,
2026. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But it sucks that even in 2026, like we're really not given a huge diversity as far as like who is getting cast in lead roles in any form of film these days, right? Like usually, I mean, there was a point in time, especially in the early 2000s, where it was like the WB special, where everyone was just beautiful and looked like a model. I mean, dude, look at the 2003 Texas Chainsaw reboot. Like everyone in that movie looks like they stepped off the set of a CW TV show, right?
Or Seventh
What I
Heaven, yeah,
appreciate-
there it is.
or seventh heaven. There you go. Even better. What I appreciated about this one is that they cast a chick that looks like a normal regular chick. Like she's not model thin. You know, she's very beautiful. Like don't get me wrong on that. Like she is absolutely beautiful. But like they picked someone that, you know, didn't look like a stick skinny model like we get a lot of the times in these movies. And her acting was phenomenal. I loved her raspy voice. I've never seen Euphoria, so this is the first time I've ever seen Barbie Ferreira in anything.
Same, yeah.
And like literally, I went and saw this movie by myself, and like in my head, I was like, dude, thank you. Like we're getting a chick that looks like a normal chick. you know, and I know there's no such thing as normal, right? Because everybody comes in different shapes, sizes, all that good stuff. But to me, this was not somebody plucked out of, you know, a Calvin Klein ad. This is, you know, a chick that looked like a normal, regular chick, and I
Well,
found
and
her performance to be amazing, absolutely amazing, and it was just a breath of fresh air. And then, like, you know, we talked about this pre-show, and Brian had brought it up that like the archetype of characters that we have in this film was very diverse, considering like what we typically get. And I was just like, man, this, and it didn't feel like heavy-handed or like force-fed of like, oh, like this character is going to be like a gay character, this character is going to be a lesbian character, this character is going to be XYZ. Like, it felt natural to the story, and it just all worked. And I really, really, really dug that. I mean, like, what did you guys think?
or piggybacking off of that, it's just a part of their identity, and it's not like called back to meet some kind of a quota. Again, I watch recent films. I mean, Clown in a Cornfield. Again, I'm going back to that piece of shit, shoehorning gay
You'll never give
characters
up
in a
on that
movie.
one.
No, because again, it's insulting to me to you know. It feels pandering. It feels like, oh, you know, we're going to try to have a really progressive subplot with these two gay characters and just throw it in there. Another thing with Barbie Ferreira's character, and again, like I love representation. I love to see gay characters in a movie. But this felt more organic rather than like something like a Black Christmas 2019, where it's like, oh, all these frat boys are burning alive. Don't we feel good about that? Or in Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it's like, oh, all these Nazis are getting slaughtered. Don't we feel good about that? It's trying to get you to have a fist pumping moment, but it feels pandering. Whereas this, we have a main character who has gone through significant trauma. And it again, calling back to Clown in a Cornfield, wasn't there a subplot, Justin, in that movie where the main character had drug problems and her dad or her mom drove her to the hospital and they got in a car accident and the mom died? I'm like, what does any of this have to do with the themes of the story? What does any of it have to do with
Yeah, I mean, at
it's
least
just
this
thrown in there because every main character has to be traumatized in some way. Whereas in this movie, something horrible has happened to the main character. She's isolated herself. She doesn't own a laptop. She uses a flip phone. The trauma that her character goes through influences how her character behaves throughout the movie, and she does have a character arc.
Can I say something,
stems
though?
From that? Yes.
That trauma she has is her own motherfucking fault, though. Because
doesn't matter.
Who in their right mind, okay, this is a huge spoiler. So she's experiencing all this trauma because
Which
convinced her.
That's the A24 special, right? Every horror film that comes out now has to already have existing characters that are still dealing with past trauma.
Yeah.
But go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, it was laughable to me. Laughable. I wouldn't feel bad for you. You caused, what is her sister, right? Mm-hmm. It's her sibling or family member, to do a TikTok video where you're standing on a train track as a train is rushing towards you at over 100 miles per hour.
Teenagers do dumb shit.
They do, but then you should have to deal with that then, and you would have to have consequences to that.
She does.
I don't feel that it's represented. I did not. I never once believed that she felt that way.
She's ostracized. You can tell that she feels terrible because again,
I'm
she's
saying in her performance
closed herself off. I felt it.
I never felt it.
The movie is about the desperate pursuit for relevancy in this fleeting media landscape of social media and wanting to get likes and clicks and views, and doing something like doing a TikTok dance in front of railroad tracks. That's something that kids would do. You know,
it is true, and it does showcase. It is having something to say about how stupid our society is. So totally. You could say, I mean, the character you're rooting for did something really fucking stupid. I get what you're saying. Because no one in their right mind would do that. But you're right, kids will do that. I just didn't personally feel, as I'm talking about her performance, that it ever was shining through the way that I'd hoped. There's little glimpses of it here and there. I just felt like they could have gone harder with that. I think her performance is a little too surface level when it comes to that.
I think, again, we get to the very end, and she has her Sally Hardesty Texas Chainsaw Massacre moment of both, you know, of all these different emotions, triumph, relief, and also the realization that people on the internet who watched all of, this confrontation happen, it's just another meme to them. They're not taking it seriously, whereas she has to go through, this ordeal and deal with the consequences. I thought the ending was so powerful. She nails that like mania. Again, it's that Sally Hardesty moment at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I kind of found her. I found her kind of funny in those scenes. I didn't take it seriously, but that's just me.
That's fair.
I loved the scene where she begrudgingly agrees to go out with her roommate / best friend, and they're in a convenience store, and people recognize her as quote unquote train girl. Oh, you're train girl, and it's and you felt the gravity of how that video and that loss affected her. I thought that was definitely something that shined through, and she was definitely tormented and dealing with the trauma of losing her sister. And I felt all that. And Loy, I think that was a spot on analogy, man, with the Sally Hardesty. I mean, that's exactly what that ending was. And she was thrilled. She was happy. She was terrified. She was sad. She was mortified. She was all of those things at the same time. And I really loved her delivery of that. But like you said, in the hellscape that we currently live in with social media and all these TikTok videos and bullshit, I mean, dude, we as a people have become so desensitized to anything that's put on the internet, to the fact of like, let's just say like a famous celebrity dies. Like immediately there are people who are making jokes about how they died. And I mean, shit, dude, I still see Paul Walker like memes or quotes of people like making fun of the way that he died online, and I'm like, dude, that's a real person, man. Like that's
this just happened to me last week, man. One of my favorite dark wave artists, Ghost, died. I'd actually hung out with him with our friend Dave Ferguson at a show. One of my favorites, dude. I don't know how he died. I never looked into it, but he died. And people in the comment sections to the articles were going, "Who?" ? Laugh out loud. And I literally was like, dude, you don't know who this person is. A person literally lost their life, and you're LOLing it just because you don't know who it is. And I fucking went at this dude really fucking hard. Like, seriously? Like, that's how people react to someone losing. You don't know if it was tragic or what happened to them or what their life was like. I mean, even to your point there, Jeremy, we're desensitized by everything. Politics, school shootings happen like at least once every few weeks in this country. We just see it
every
on the
day.
news and flip through it. I mean, that's why I don't watch the news, because simply I can't. It would just ruin my entire life. I wouldn't be able to deal with it.
Yeah,
the wars and genocide, everything in this world, and people literally just look at something to be entertained. And I get that we need that release, but we no longer care the way we used to. And I think the movie could have said more about that. But on top of that, what I found really unrealistic is that they would ever hire her, Margot, this person that's been through this, at this company where they literally have to flag or approve these viral videos. I found that really stretching it, honestly. I know it was part of therapeutic for her, but
yeah, I didn't, because her friend is the one that is
gave her
running
the
that
job.
company. They
gave
her the job. And plus, I think that having gone through what she went through, she would be an ideal candidate for declining, certain content and, pushing others through. I don't know. I get what you said. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll flip-flop on that for a second, because I don't know, like, with what she went through, I don't know how in real life she'd be able to sit through watching videos
was
as horrific as that.
Was it therapeutic?
I agree with
for
you
her?
on that.
Was it therapeutic, or was it?
I imagine there is some therapy to it, but also we see glimpses of her coworkers and how desensitized they are what they're consuming as well. I mean, this company that she works for, you get the sense that money comes first and then public safety, because you see
surprise.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You see her doing her moderation process, and a lot of the things that you would think that would be unsuitable for consumption, she passes through, because it doesn't. There's like guidelines, I'm sure, that are not really quite rigid. It all comes down to like, your perception. The movie deals with this. With questions regarding like what's suitable for public consumption and who gets to decide that, and I don't know. I just thought all of that was really interesting, and I think it's done with a lot more like intellect and tact than Justin, I think you're giving the movie credit for. I mean, is the movie at its core a straightforward slasher? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it meets the current moment more thoroughly than the recent Scream movie. I mean, the Scream 7, it doesn't have a point of view about AI. It introduces AI as a plot device, but it doesn't have anything to say about its implications.
Scream 7 is also not about Faces of Death. It's not based on that.
Well,
so
no,
we're
but
talking
isn't
about
it a meta
movie in a
slasher?
series.
Isn't it a meta slasher? Isn't it part of this tradition of deconstructing the horror genre?
That movie's about Sidney Prescott and her daughter, though. This movie's about a girl who watches her sister get killed in front of her because of a stupid decision. And I wouldn't even say it's apples and oranges, man. Not even relatable at all in any way.
I think it's a pretty apt comparison. I think, and
again, take something that's a new slasher movie that's an
7.
original slasher, like not a 7th movie in a series.
Well, arguably, this is the 5th or 6th movie in a series. It's doing something different. It's pivoting from the normal Faces of Death template or format. So this is doing something different. And like I said, it is a meta slash or a slasher with meta elements, but so are the Scream movies. So I'm just using that as a comparison to a movie that you gave a pass to, and I'm just saying I enjoyed
because I liked
Scream
it a lot
7.
I thought that movie was great, and I
enjoyed
think
Scream
this
7
great.
too. I enjoyed Scream 7 too, but I'm just using it as a point of comparison. I mean, this has a lot more to say, in my opinion, about the dilution of viral moments, a lot of which deal with violent and tragic real world events like we've talked about that inspire like memes and trends online and all this kind of stuff. What did Scream 7 have to say? AI exists. Like, I don't know.
It uses it as a tool. It's not part of the theming, though. AI is not part of the theme of that movie. It just exists in the movie as a tool. Totally different thing.
I'm just saying this movie has a lot more on its mind than your average slasher movie.
It does, absolutely, but I don't think that it ever actually executes it in a way where it opens up the floodgates and does anything special with it. I think it is surface level because at the end of the day, what is the point of the movie? It's just playing with these themes and tossing them around. It never did anything for me, for the main character, that ever felt like that resonated much. That's my point.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more.
That's fine. That's why we're doing this. That's why we do these things.
What's interesting is the only thing Justin said before you jumped on, Loy, was that you and him had a slight differing of opinions on this movie. And I thought, oh shit, LoySauce is like fucking hated this movie. I didn't realize it was going to be Justin that was the one that didn't care for this movie. So
I never said I disliked it either. I think that it's a frustrating experience because there's a lot more they could have done with the movie, and I don't feel that it did any of the things responsibly that it could have done to push forward those themes. It says the things that we all know. Yeah, these things are bad. This is what our society's like. But what's your opinion on that? And I'm saying that in particular on purpose because that's something that LoySauce always says about other movies too.
I think the movie had a very clear point of view.
What's its point of view then?
Well, I've laid it out as clearly as I possibly can. Again, it's harnessing the infamous nature of the original film Faces of Death and builds a mythology around it that responds to our current moment. It uses Faces of Death as a catalyst for a story that could happen right at this very moment. So again, I'm not saying that this is a paragon of originality or anything like that, but these are points that have been made, even in, it's been touched upon in the Scream franchise, this idea of virality and trends and that kind of stuff. I think my expectations again were lowered because of what I thought the movie was going to be about, and it exceeded my expectations. I'd like to talk about some of the filmmaking in the movie because again, I wasn't expecting there to be, first of all, film was shot on 35 millimeter film, so it looks handsome. I mean, there's production value out the wazoo for something like this.
Didn't he also use 18 millimeter as well? I think they use
I
different
believe so.
formats. Yeah, different
I
formats.
believe so. There's an amazing sequence where we see the tracking shot, a kind of an elaborate tracking shot of the killer breaking into Margot, Barbie Ferrer's character, her apartment, and it follows him from her bed, tracks down into on the street level where the killer is in his car. It follows him into the apartment, and there's great split screen work. There's just really smooth, solid camera work throughout. There's clever transitions. There's a part where you see Margot's screen, what she's looking at, Reddit or whatever. And then it zooms in on that, only to zoom out to show that the killer is looking at the same page as she is. So what I'm saying is that the sequence of images and sound in this movie have meaning. And that's more than I can say for a lot of other pieces of crap horror movies that I've watched of late. Justin, you and I watched a wonderful film recently called Vampires of the Velvet Lounge.
Which we never got a chance to talk about. Yes, it was Vampires of the Velvet Lounge, yes.
And I think about a movie like that. And then I look at a movie like this and I'm like, these filmmakers, it shows they have, there's intention, there's purpose. And again, they're presenting imagery in a way that's several cuts above what we normally get. There's a shot of Barbie Ferrer in bed where you see the light beaming through the blinds on her window. And I'm like, that's a shot that you would see in like a 90s erotic thriller. What's it doing in a Shudder original film? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
fantastic shot.
So I really give the movie a lot of props for trying to be something a little bit more elevated than your normal horror remake.
How dare you use that term on this show?
I thought
you're fired.
I thought it was beautifully shot, and I also loved that, a lot of times when we get movies like this, like we don't really get the setup of the killer, right? We just get the execution of like, okay, here's the camera, killer's in the person's house and abducting the person, right? I love that this film, now, in some regards, or in a lot of regards, I wish that the movie was more brutal and had, more in-your-face gore, because I feel like that, given the title and the original film's nature, like, we kind of, I certainly expected it, and we didn't really get that, which, it's okay, but it was just one of those things that I think the movie would have been even stronger had it had more of that. But what I loved is that it really took its time with this killer, and it showed us the killer's process for how he picked his victims, how he stalked them ahead of time, how he got into the house without anyone knowing, all of these things. Dude, that scene where he snuck into the house of the character Neil, the Asian news anchor guy.
News anchor, yeah. I loved that sequence, actually.
Dude, that sequence was... And, like, I also love that it did, like, a lot of times we get movies like this and the killer is just, like, flawless in their execution, right? This movie showed, like, okay, wrench in plans, like, things go wrong, but here's how this serial killer adapts and reacts to those things, right? So, like, when he goes to get Neil, then all of a sudden he has to deal with the son, and, Neil's kind of getting away, even though he's hit him with the medicine, and he's losing consciousness. He's kind of getting his way when his son pops up and kind of like intervenes, and it's like how he has to deal with that. And then the scene where he's at Margot's house and he's going after her roommate, and then he wasn't anticipating of dealing with her, who realistically was unknowing to him is the person that he would have actually liked to have kidnapped, because realistically the roommate's innocent, which fucking sucks to be that guy.
Dude, he just took a shower. He's out trying to grab a beer. I'm like, come on, he's probably gonna watch a horror movie on VHS, which, by the way, had, just like every other modern slasher movie, you gotta have the character that has horror movies on video cassette to make it relevant. When she walks in from going to work, oh, he's watching Blood Feast on the TV. Oh, that's an immediate homage to the horror fan. Like, look, it's cool. That's that old horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
If you're gonna do a meta horror movie that comments on horror movies and is about a horror movie, it's kind of inevitable. I like how much emphasis was placed on physical media in this film, though. There's characters have like libraries of VHS tapes and DVDs. So I appreciated the fact that there was an emphasis on that.
It just felt like, just like everything else now, where you see like movie posters on a kid's wall in a horror movie who would never have had that poster on their wall. Just saying.
But see, that's you saying that. Whereas, like, I mean, I'm a queer, early 30s something guy, and I love horror movies and I love physical media, and I would buy a VHS tape of Faces of Death if I found it, or he might have been scrolling eBay and he found someone was selling a copy of Faces of Death. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
They can. It seems ham-fisted to me now at this point, because every fucking movie does it. That's my point. Every single one of them does it.
To me,
here, look at that thing in the corner. See that thing there? It's just another Easter egg.
To me, it's more fitting to have a character who's a horror fan watching Blood Feast than to have someone with a poster that they, that didn't even exist at the time. A movie's taking place in the 80s, and
I agree with that. But also, this motherfucker had to be loaded because that VHS tape is worth a lot of money. Just saying. I don't know what he does for a job, but
maybe he is. Who knows?
Maybe a thrift store find.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Thrift store find.
Maybe. I forgot there was one thing I wanted to mention. Oh, the use of the fentanyl, which, I mean, that shit is deadly. It just shows how precise Dacre's Arthur is in the movie. He's one of my favorite sequences is when he takes the influencer girl in the locker room. I loved that. We've seen plenty of locker room attacks in the past couple years in new slasher movies, but I loved this because
Terrifier.
She was doing a TikTok dance in a pool, and she did this thing that's this new trend if you're a TikToker or influencer in air quotes. And if someone walks through your video, you talk shit to them and you shame them for literally walking by you in a public place because they got in your video. And I was happy to see her get abducted. I was like, cool, awesome, right back at you. Because that's like literally the scum of the earth now, where you can't walk down the steps in front of a museum if someone's doing a video because you're in their video, so but I really enjoyed that. That was I thought, tension-filled sequence for sure.
I loved that when she was abducted and had been abducted for a good while, that Arthur told her, a lot of people are talking. Okay. That part was great too. But when Arthur goes, a lot of people are talking about you right now. You wanted to be famous, right? And she was like, even though she's abducted and like literally being held captive from a psychopath, she was like, what are they saying? Like she still craved the attention of the internet from nameless,
and cared about what they
to her on the internet.
I mean, dude,
her,
how scary would that have been? You're in the locker room there. I mean, he tapes that phone of her voice talking in that one locker, and she's like, "This isn't funny." Like that would be terrifying to me that someone went through all that effort to do that. So once again,
my favorite detail of that subplot is when there's a certain point where it seems like she's going to escape, and the killer, he's pursuing her with a sniper rifle, and he shouts out to her as she's running, "Zigzag, Samantha!" Like he's like coaching her on how to escape a killer. Like I just thought that was really that again, bits like that added so much personality to this movie, which could have been very rote and very run of the mill. It helped to kind of amp it up a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Another element that I really liked was even like you were saying earlier, Loy, with the attention to detail in this, the red tape that's used to hold the phone on the wall in that locker room is the same red tape that he's tying them up with in his house. Mm-hmm. Like that's how he's like, this red tape was, something that's such a minute detail that other filmmakers might not. Yeah. He uses this red duct tape, and it was something that I noticed, like, wow, they really paid attention to this small but important detail of like, this is the tape that he uses, and he uses it throughout the movie, which I really appreciate it, because a lot of times in modern horror, that's just such a throwaway detail that, it just gets glossed over, which I appreciate it small.
It shows that the filmmakers give a shit about what they're making.
I mean,
which again is more than I can say for a lot of what I've seen of late.
I mean, the director, Daniel Goldhaber, I was not very familiar with him, but he had done a movie called Cam, webcam pornography style horror movie. And I just realized that he actually came up with the idea to do this movie and base it on Faces of Death from actually working in a call center, literally doing the same type of thing where
No
he
shit.
was, yeah, he was just, he got the idea randomly out of nowhere. So I thought the direction overall was really, I mean, like you said, LoySauce, there is some really creative stuff that he does here. I think he took full advantage, more or less, of the style and the look and feel of the movie than they did the script. That's just my, again, that's where I'm feeling on this thing. I felt like the basis of what this movie could have been was there, and it could have been a huge home run for me. But we got to get to that third act climax because, you know, we realize that Margot, no one believes anything she's saying because she is the train girl. So when she goes to the police, they're not listening to her. Arthur is so smart that he calls the cops on her because he knows she's going to call the cops on him when she escapes. And then, of course, she leaves and realizes, I have to get back there. I literally have to take this guy out. And I guess she receives like some Narcan. Is that what happened? Like she receives that and she takes it. So that way when she gets there with the other drug there, it counteracts it a little bit. But I think this
So
is
what she does, yeah. So
which was set up
when
earlier.
yeah. No, when she gets when the police come and they take her to the hospital because she's obviously got wounds on.
Yeah.
They do a blood toxicology report and then it shows that she has fentanyl in her system. So they think that she's an addict. So they give
what it
her
was.
Narcan,
Gotcha.
which is common. So what's really crazy is so when I was going through my health stuff last year, they prescribed me some type of medication that legally they also had to give me. It wasn't fentanyl that they were giving me, but it was something like adjacent in one of the medications, I guess. And legally they had to give me Narcan with it. So basically it makes sense that they're like, hey, here's some. And she's like, oh no, I'm like not a drug addict. Like somebody gave me this. And they're like, okay, well, here you go. Like legally they were still giving her the Narcan just in case. So it wasn't like she took it ahead of time. He Narcaned her, and I think as she was starting to go out, or I'm sorry, I think I said Narcan. He fentanyled her, and as she was starting to go out, she Narcan herself in that moment. So it wasn't like she took it first kind of deal.
Gotcha.
Well,
yeah.
And that was set up because earlier in the movie, when she's doing her content moderation for Kino, the app, one of the videos that she flags for drug use, inappropriate, inappropriate drug use, is someone explaining the effects and the benefits of Narcan. And then that comes back into play later. So again, set up, payoff, something that other horror films wouldn't even bother with. Clever filmmaking.
This third act, though, I would say goes off the rails in traditional fashion, which is where it kind of sets itself back onto the traditional generic slasher. But I still enjoyed it, though. I still had fun with it.
I do agree that the ending kind of went into very traditional Final Girl territory for me, which is not necessarily a bad thing because I love it all. I love slasher movies. I love that triumphant Final Girl moment. That, slasher films kind of give you that feeling of, triumph at the end. So it didn't necessarily bother me, but I do think it was a very traditional way to end what is, what was kind of setting itself up as something a little bit less
That's what I'm
traditional.
saying. The movie itself is talking about the outrage and, the franchise itself, the original, is about sensationalizing murder and death. And then, of course, we just get that in this entertaining, exciting way as a climax. So that's kind of where my opinion on, is the movie confused? Is it using these themes and ideas literally just to service a slasher? If that's what it's trying to do, that's perfectly fine. But that's where I find like it didn't necessarily hammer home what it could have. But again, would I have rather had a powerful message at the end, or do I want to see a big bloody battle, in this dude's basement? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because what's a slasher movie without these?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the movie is confused. I think it's just, again, trying to recontextualize the original film in a slasher movie framework. And I think the framework just is what it is. How much can you really reinvent the slasher
I mean,
framework model.
They could have done a lot, I'm sure, but
For
well, what,
for
Justin?
me,
I mean, do you have specific things, specific notes that you could give the screenwriter?
If we wanted to talk for 3.5 hours, yeah, sure. But this is usually an hour episode for our Fresh Frights, so we don't have the time for all that. Yeah.
Let's make it. Just cancel the rest of your meetings for the rest of the day. This is it. We're in it now. Faces of Death for another 2 hours.
I wasn't the one writing Faces of Death. I'm just the one criticizing it, which is what I do. So,
for me, the third act is the weakest, muddiest part of this. Although there are a lot of elements of it that I like. I'm sorry, but with Margot getting out of the house and escaping this literal death trap house and this vicious serial killer, she would have never gone back. I'm sorry, dude. I would not go back to that fucking house for two people that I've never met before. Never. If I made it out, I'm fucking out, bro. That's it. I'm not going back.
Just show up with an AK-47 or something, or get your own sniper rifle, or bring a fucking bazooka or something. She shows up like, dude, he just opens the door. Come on in.
Yeah, if you guys were in there, all right, man. I'm gonna get a couple of the homies. We're going back,
go 30 deep or some shit.
Yeah, am I going back to a serial killer's house that I narrowly escaped from with my life for a person, or two people that I've never met before? No, fuck no. So
it's a little far fetched, but it was heroic of her, and again, she made a lot of intelligent decisions along the way that ultimately made her on top. So yeah, it's a little far fetched.
It was redemptive. It was redemptive, right?
Because how much did she really have left to lose at that point? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And she couldn't save her sister, so this was maybe her being like, I couldn't save her, but I can save these other people. And then again, full spoilers, joke was on her. Fucking those people were dead when she got back there, so she went back there to save them when they were already fucking dead. But I really appreciated the ending, and I enjoyed it despite being like, dude, no one would have ever gone back. I still enjoyed it. Again,
it was satisfying for me. Yeah.
I wish that there was more brutality in the movie, more gore. What I will say, my favorite gore moment of the film was her roommate that had been chopped up into pieces and thrown in a plastic bin.
Amazing stuff.
And Arthur was pouring acid. He put the tote in a bathtub and was pouring acid in it to fucking melt the body. And dude, that practical effects was unbelievable. Look, that shit looked real.
That was his real face. I'm pretty sure it was really his face, squished in from underneath in the bag or whatever it was. I swear to God, it looked like his real face, dude.
I think legit that was a practical effects team that recreated it off the actor's mold.
It looked so real, dude.
It looked fucking legit. Yeah, dude, for sure. I looked at that and I was like, you know what? Even though this movie isn't anywhere near as brutal as what I thought a Faces of Death movie would be, that shot alone, I was like, that is fucking gruesome. So, got to give it to the practical effects guys on that one.
Well, guys, I think we're down at it here. It's ringing it around the rosy here. Final thoughts and trash it or treasure it. And I'm going with you first, Saucy. I already know what you're going to say, but we have to build up that excitement.
No, I'm treasuring it for sure because, again, it's probably my own fault, but I went into it with lowered expectations, and I was just so tickled at how it managed to, with a lot of precision and, like I said, a lot of tact, kind of approach the infamy of the original film with a modern, and view it through a modern lens. So yeah, it's a treasure it for me. And I would love to hear what you all have to say as we're wrapping up as well.
Jeremy.
Our trash it or treasure it rating scale sometimes is a tricky one because there's literally no in between, right? Are you gonna trash this thing? Or are you gonna treasure it? This movie wasn't exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but that's not all necessarily a bad thing. I really I had a really good time with this movie, and if I can walk out of a theater and be like, "Yeah, like, that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it," then that's a win for me because there's so many times, especially doing what we do, that I go to see a movie, and I have all types of anticipation for it or not, and I walk out and I'm like, "You know what? I really did not have a good time with that one, and that was, like, kinda tedious to get through." This was not that. Like, I had a really great time with it. I really enjoyed the character work. I really enjoyed the direction. I really enjoyed the practical effects. I really enjoyed Dacre's performance as Arthur and the physicality that he brought to the character, and like even just the small moments where he's kind of pumping himself up before he's about to break into somebody's house and he's like thrusting his shoulders and he's huffing and he's puffing, like hyping himself up. Like I loved the little nuanced things like that. Um, I think some character motivation moments in this movie were, like no one would really do this, but you got to suspend, belief on, what we would do in some of these situations because at the end of the day, it's a horror movie, and I enjoyed it. I had a great time with it, so I'm gonna go ahead and treasure it.
God bless the both of you. Much like I've said this whole entire episode, I did not hate Faces of Death. I didn't even necessarily totally dislike it. I was enjoying much of it. I do think that it could have stuck the landing had it done something more original or unique with its ending. As much as I do love a traditional, generic, slash 'em up killer ending. It's my favorite horror genre is a slasher. It's cool to see them use the Faces of Death moniker.
To so many of them, and this is the one you're gonna.
This is the one because I did not connect with it in the way that I think it has a responsibility to it, and I do not feel the same way that you did in regards to. Yeah, well, yes, I agree. It is clever. It is extremely well made. It's well directed. My problem lies in the script. I did not feel connected in that way to it, and I also did not really care for Barbie Ferrer's performance. I thought she was perfectly fine, was not in love with anything she did. But Dacre, on the other hand, was fantastic. Really enjoyed what he was doing there because if you're going to do a throwback, I really do feel like this should have been grimier, sleazier, not even necessarily more violent, but something more vicious. I mean, in a post-Terrifier
like Maniac,
2 world,
right?
Or anything. Yeah, something a little more grimy. If you're going to make a movie about Faces of Death, post-Terrifier 2, I expect something a little bit harder edged, and this just didn't do that for me. And LoySauce, you cannot get mad at me for hoping for more blood, guts, and gore because you say that about fucking everything. You're like, oh, it was good, but not enough people got killed in this, or no one saw a baby get its head chopped off or anything. And I'm like, if you're gonna do
my stance is if you want that kind of gore, watch any of the Faces of Death movies. You know what I mean? Watch the original Faces of Death. This is trying to do something different.
But I'm saying then don't use the name. Gore. Then don't use the name. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna do it right. So that's why I'm going to trash Faces of Death. It had a lot of potential. It had a lot of things I liked going on there, but it just didn't hit the mark. So that's it for this Fresh Fright review of Faces of Death. Thanks so much for listening to the episode. If this is your first time, thanks for checking us out. And if this is someone that's been listening for a long, long time to the show, we love you so much. Thanks for sticking with us here. Our podcasts are available on every single podcast platform known to man, and of course at Epic Film Guys on every single social media platform as well. So until next time, I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm LoySauce.
And we'd like to ask you to keep that shit. Damn right he is. Goddamn, he proved it on this one. You better come at me like that every single time when you're on this show. Goddamn it. It's rare. It's rare. You don't usually love something like this. So
we very rarely disagree on something, and it's frustrating for me when my co-host gets it so wrong. That
I know it's frustrating. Well, you know what? I just have fun with it. It's fun for me, and I think our audience loves the shit out of it. So I'm so glad this happened. Brian's gonna leave right now and be like, "I'm going to tattoo parlor. I'm getting Faces of Death tattooed on my fucking throat." But
fuck yeah.
Hardcore, bitches. But anyways, we like to ask you to keep that shit.
Keep it.
Creepy bitches.